Good afternoon, everyone. Mary Sloane here with another episode of Inspirational Influencer News, People Making a Difference. And my guest this afternoon, Melody Ann Owen, is certainly somebody who is making a difference. She absolutely loves the world of books and authors, and she can't wait to find the next author. Is it you? So she's the founder of Author Nation, a community of authors for authors. She believes that everyone has a story and that as we write and publish our books, we should have access to the support and knowledge we need to succeed while retaining control of our content and creativity. Melody Ann is also a storyteller, a book coach, and an editor. So if you go with her and get her to help you with your book, you are going to definitely have a book that you're going to love. And isn't that what it's really all about? You've got to love that book because it's your creation. So, Melody Ann, how is it that, or what is it that you really want people to know, especially people, I guess, who are thinking, oh, I'd like to write a book, but I'm scared, or oh, I'd like to write a book, but it's too much work and I don't have time, or what else do you hear and what else would you like them to know?
Yeah. Thank you, Mary, for having me. That's a great question. So what I want people to know is if you have a book in you, that you actually can get it done. It is possible, first off. And a lot of people are afraid. They feel overwhelmed by the whole idea of writing 50,000 words and titles and covers and editing and all this stuff they know nothing about. But there is a way to get it done. And that's, I guess, the very first thing that I want people to know, whether it's your story, a memoir that you want to share with the world, or whether you have been in business for 20 years and you are the expert and have some really important ideas to share, or whether you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to publish multiple books and build a business through that, it is absolutely possible. And the trick is, I believe, is to surround yourself by people who will support you and give you the knowledge that you need to actually get that done. So that's why I created Author Nation. It's a community for authors by authors. We're not a publishing house. We're not going to publish your book. We are going to help you through the process so that you don't make some of those mistakes that I see a lot of authors make that cost them time, energy, and money.
I would want to know how to save time, energy, and money because those are things that are hard to get back. Once they're gone, they're gone. So saving time, energy, and money would be really good. So what's your biggest tip for making sure that happens?
My biggest tip is to surround yourself by people who have been there and done that, and so that you have answers to questions. An author came to me the other day, booked one of the 30-minute discovery call with me, and said, so I've got this book and I found this publisher and they're only charging me $5,000. And I said, well, wait right there. Publishers don't charge you money. Traditional publishers give you an advance. They give you money to write the book. And then they take on the risk of editing and the book design and the marketing. And then you are paid from book sales. So first off, if someone's saying, we are a publishing company and you can only pay $5,000 to get that done, they're not a publishing company. They're a publishing consultant. They're a self-publishing front, or they're a vanity press. There's something else, but they're not traditional publishers. And what I generally say is, if you're going to spend money, be really careful who you give your money to and know what you're getting for it really clearly. And if you don't, connect with the community of authors and ask lots of questions and find out, ask an opinion about that company, and has anyone else worked with them, and did it work out, and did you get value for your money? So there's just an example of how you can save time, money, and energy and heartache by having knowledgeable authors around you as you go through your own author journey.
Yeah, I mean, because we've lived on the internet now for quite a while, and so many people are, charging up front for doing X, Y, or Z, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal. But when you look back traditionally, books were published, and authors were paid to write because the book publishers needed books to publish. Otherwise, they didn't have any way of making any money. And so you had a great book or something that they thought they could sell, they would help you by giving you some money while you sat there and wrote, so you could write instead of having to work. But times change, clearly.
Yeah. Well, you can still get traditionally published. I have clients who are traditionally published. We get the book or enough of the book and the book idea in shape to write a proposal. We submit that to an agent or a publishing house. Then the author or publishing house signs an agreement and the author is paid. So that I do that with clients. It's absolutely possible. But a lot of people are choosing to self-publish. But of course, it's like buying a house for the first time, right? I don't know how to buy a house. I've never done it, right? I don't know how to publish a book. I've never done it. So having the right guides to walk you through the process really makes a difference. I had another client. He worked with a vanity press, and he paid them and they published his book. And then they decided not to do anything else with it. And so he said, well, I'd like my book. But the thing is, they had the copyright. They owned the book. That's how they sorted out the contract. And so the author had to kind of undo that. And that's a legal issue. And had to undo that, and then had to republish the book under a new ISBN, under a new, and we did manage to, it can be done most of the time, but that's a risk. If you don't realize you're signing away your rights to the book, then later on, you've put all this work and you have no control over it. And so people like to self-publish to retain control of their content and their creativity. And then when you sign off to a vanity press and you don't read the contract and you don't realize it, and they land up owning your book, that's counter to what you wanted to do in the first place. And so that's something that I suggest people really watch out for.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a big issue, because I know all kinds of people who have a book, they publish the book, it may be available on Amazon or something, but they mostly use it as an attention grabber or something, and they'll put it out their own way. Really common way I've seen is shipping and handling. Just pay the shipping and handling. We'll send you the book, and we'll give you all these other goodies, because now they have you wanting the book, them being willing to give you the book. They really are getting paid because the shipping and handling probably pays for the book and then some. And you now get a book in your hand, which is great because they have another story, and you probably, if you went that far, you're interested. So you could be, and they use it as a way to get clients or new people in the door. So there's a lot of reasons that people want to publish a book. I certainly understand that.
Absolutely. And that's one way to use a book, right? As a book, the book is a business strategy, right? And the wonderful thing about books is you don't have to be in the same room. Although now technology is expanding and there's Zoom and we're all on Zoom, this is actually something that isn't as important, but pre the Zoom life, a book was a great way to get your ideas into the hands of somebody in a different geographical area. And it still is. And then you can get on a Zoom and connect with them that way. And so there are lots of ways you can use a book as part of a business, as a marketing tool to grow your business. And the one you suggested is one way that I've seen people do that.
Yeah. And the other thing I've seen is that they literally write a book, and it's almost the program that they are going to deliver. So it's almost like a workbook, and they may have a workbook that goes along with it with some exercises and stuff or things. So, I mean, there are as many ways as there are people, there are ways to publish a book and reasons like to publish a book, I guess.
Yeah. I've had more than one client um, develop a series of workshops based on the chapters of the book, deliver the workshops, ask people in the workshops if they can use their stories in the book, and then record the workshops, transcribe the workshops, and then use that to create the book. And so there's also, talking about, we wrote a book based on the workshop. There's also the idea of using workshops to help create the book, very, very, thoughtfully, right? How are we going to do this? I don't want to write. I'd prefer to teach for an hour and gain stories and examples that way, and then transcribe it and rework it. And so there are lots of different ways of approaching, self-publishing, right? Which is wonderful.
And how many people worry about being, is it a bestseller, or I think it's bestseller in different categories and stuff? How big a deal is that?
I think you might be referring to an Amazon bestseller campaign, because there are different ways to be a bestseller. You can be New York Times bestseller. There's lots of different bestsellers. The most popular one is the Amazon bestseller, because it's something that you can figure out how to do on your own. Right. So the New York Times bestseller, they get to choose who's on their bestseller list and who isn't, based on, another bestseller list. Usually they're based on how many books are sold per week, whereas the Amazon bestseller is based on how many books are being sold right now in a specific category. And so what some people do is they find a category that does not have a lot of book sales that fits their book. They put their book in that category, and then they do a campaign to get as many sold at the same time, and that shoots their book up to the top of the list on Amazon. They can take a screenshot of that and then use that in their marketing. Now, people are like, that's fun, I'm a bestseller and it's great. But if you are going to do that, what I suggest you do is you integrate that into a longer promotion plan, a longer term promotion plan. And so if you're going to put the work into selling a whole bunch of books at once, how can you use that to keep book sales up? Like, how does that fit into your longer term plan? Because people think about launch, right? Oh, I want to launch my book and I want to sell my book, but a book lasts forever. And if you're writing evergreen material, you can sell your book now and in 5 years and in 10 years. And so having that longer term strategy, either to help your book helping build your business or you making money off your book, that's something you really want to think about.
Yeah. Good to have somebody to bounce ideas off, because, what I've seen just from afar, from seeing a lot of people with books and, wanting to become best-selling authors, and like you say, in various categories, and, oh, I got best-selling author on Amazon in 10 categories or something. I've heard those kind of things. It's like, okay, how do you do that? So, yeah. And I'm sure everything can be done, but you have to kind of have some idea how to get that done.
Yes.
And with some kind of certainty, because one thing I do know about Amazon bestsellers is that you don't have a lot of time. I think they kind of change some of their lists every day or something. You got 24 hours. Okay, get it done. As many as you can get done.
Yes. And so you want to use that as momentum, right? So that, to have a longer term plan. I think, that's is what I find is authors who do that bestseller plan and then do nothing, their book sales drop off significantly, and then they feel disappointed. They're happy with the bestseller title, but they feel disappointed about the longer term success that's brought them. And so it's good to help, and that reminds me, talking about bestseller campaigns, it reminds me of awards. I have a story, several years ago, I held an event And one of the authors in my group said, I want an award. I want an award. She was so excited. She'd won this book reward and she'd figured out how to apply for and win awards. And I said, that's wonderful. Would you like to come in and do a presentation on step by step how you did that? So she came in, she did a presentation step by step on how she did that. And there's another author in the room taking copious notes. And she went out and she took that step by step plan and she applied for awards. And her book won so many awards. It was just amazing. And that because she was a visual designer and she was helping people create interactive books. The award she won, she took that to a conference and people saw that she did that. She was hired. She got more and more work based on this award that she'd won. And it happened because another author in the community had learned something and was willing to share it. And so that's something that I find, this is one of the things I really love about Author Nation. It's not, at the beginning you said, Melody's the book coach and the editor and yeah, but it's not about me. When you lead a community, what you're doing is you're facilitating the opportunity for people within the community to connect, engage, learn from one another so that everyone can succeed. And so that's just an example of how that works outside of me as a book coach and an editor. And it just reminded me because you were talking about bestsellers and books that win awards. That's also the strategy. It's a marketing strategy as well to build your business or to sell more books because it's like a stamp of approval, right? So just another thought there for you, Mary.
Well, and great for speakers. And I'm sure, oh, my book, oh, wow, come and tell us about it, or whatever, So, there's a lot of reasons that people want to get a book. It certainly builds credibility that you have your book. It makes you stand out from all people who like to have a book and don't have a book. And so there's a lot of reasons to have a book. And, I talk about people being influencers and of course, inspirational influencer news. I think people should be influencers for good and to inspire other people to do more. And that's part of the reason that I have a show about it. And of course, being an author is certainly a way to be seen as an influencer because it's something that not everybody has. And most people, there's a little mystique about it. There's a little, wow, I'd like to be an author. I wonder if I could possibly ever do that someday, and it's that someday I'll be an author.
Yeah. And it's amazing. A lot of people, if you just walk down the street and said, do you have a book in you? Do you have a book in you? Do you have a book in you? It's amazing how many people say, yes, I have a book in me. And one day I'm going to write this book. But did you know only 3% of people who say they're going to write a book or have an idea for a book actually finish writing the book? So
that's amazing,
right?
But I can get it because I've written a couple actually, interestingly, and then just didn't ever get them published because it was more of a thing back in the day. Life moved on and things changed. I have no idea even what happened to the transcripts, but
Yeah.
it is something that you can get done, but it is definitely a process.
It's a project and it's a big project, which is, I think, why only 3% of people actually get to that finish line. Because as you know, it's if you've written a book, that's a lot of words, right? And you can get lost along the way. And sometimes I see authors start with an idea and the idea morphs. And then it's like, am I changing the book? Or should I come back to my one central idea? And so there's a lot of stuff that goes on. And then as you go, you're like, oh, I have to think about the title and the editing and the cover and the colors and then you get overwhelmed, right? So I just want to bring it back to, I just make clear, I'm not saying never pay anyone to design a book cover for you or, help you. I think that it's actually wise to get help, to have a budget and to get help so that you actually get from idea to published book, right? I just want to make that clear because earlier I said, be careful. And but it's really good to get support, right?
Well, I think it's, be careful is always good advice, especially in this world of the internet, because there is everything available out there. Some of them amazing, and some of them less amazing. And so you really have to be careful. And you want to go to people that kind of have some kind of a history, simply because if they've already done it for people, chances are they can do it for you. And of course it makes it difficult if you're starting out and you may have all the best intentions in the world, but still new is harder. But it's also difficult if you're an author. So it's like everything else, you get started, get experience, get somebody who can vouch for you. And then if you want to make a business of it, that's great. You can, because other people will start to, oh, I worked with her when she was working in such and such, and she was just looking at her first book, and she was so helpful and so amazing. And it's like, don't screw up your relationships with people along the way, ideally.
Yes, no, I agree. And that brings a really good point. A lot of publishing companies, like publishing consultants and vanity press, they try to be everything to everyone. And sometimes they're good at some things and sometimes they're not so good at some things. And so knowing what you're really good at and developing connections with other people who complement what you do is a valuable business skill, right? To say, I'm really good at this, and this, but I don't do this. And so, I'll bring someone in for that. So we have educational events every month. We recently started this. And last month, I brought in a public relations specialist because that's not my area of expertise. And so I'm not going to offer that to my community. I'm not going to say, well, I'll teach you public relations. I brought someone in. So I think connecting with people who can fill in the areas that aren't your area of expertise is actually really important. It's something that's something I like about a community, because I'm the book coach, I'm an editor, but I don't feel the pressure to know everything for everyone all the time. It's like, hey, you know what? You need that. Let's find you an answer.
Yeah.
Which is love that way of being able to work, right?
Well, and I think that if more people took that attitude of, I'm not sure I'm the best person for that, I think there are people out there who know more than I do. As far as I'm concerned, that's a credibility builder, because we then know our strengths, and we, also acknowledge that there's areas that we're not as strong at, and there are other people out there that are stronger. And I'd sooner have us reach out and we can, benefit. And it's great to have a community. Author Nation just sounds like a great place. I may have to come visit.
Yeah, do come visit. And so just as a bit of a follow-up about connecting like that. So the person I brought in for public relations was somebody I knew, somebody I trusted. And so she gave a talk, and she's part of the community. And we have tags that we can put on people. And so she has a tag called valued service provider, which means that we trust her. And so if somebody's in our community and they do a specific job for authors and we tag them as a value service provider, you as a member of the community can trust them and go to them. So that's a really good way to have all the resources you need in one place, without being dependent on one company or one person to get everything done.
Yeah, that is good, because you never, just to know, okay, who can I trust? Who can I go to if I need something beyond, this area? And I think it's absolutely great. So, how can people go about getting hold of you, and how do they join Author Nation?
So authornation.community. That is the URL if you just want to come and check it out. You can also just join us for, so we have a free community and we have paid community. So we have events for everyone, and we have a place where you can introduce yourself, and we have a question of the week that gets you thinking about your book and what you're writing. Then we have a paid community, and that includes weekly writing sessions. At the end of every weekly writing session, we write for 90 minutes. And for 30 minutes, we gather and people ask questions. And somebody will say, I'm struggling with this. And other people will go, oh, this is what I did. And then you'll get 3 or 4 ideas to solve the problem. And then you're like, great, now I know how I can solve this, or I know what's going to work for me. So we do that. We have author journals as well. So you can keep track of your progress. You can ask questions in there and I'll come in and answer them, or other members can come in and answer. We have educational events, we have author networking events. And so, there's a lot to choose from. So the idea is you get to pick and choose what works for you. And if you're interested, again, you can go to authornation.community. And I think you also have a link in, hopefully, we can put a link maybe in the description as well, Mary.
Yeah, we'll put the link into the description for sure.
Thank you so much.
It'll follow along. But I'd really encourage people to go and check out authornation.community. And remember, it's .community, not .com. So,
yes.
And that is a valid URL. So it's like my website, when I finally get it done, will be inspirationalinfluencer.news. And it's amazing how much fun it is with all these different suffixes that are coming along,
yes.
Because some of them make tremendous sense, like, oh, I'm creating a community, so I should have a .community. I'm creating a news site, so I have a .news. And it's, it's just fun, all these different things that pop up. So we're not just all stuck. Well, I think they were running out of ways to use .com. I think to get a .com, you had to have like something 12 inches long, 15 words, sort of like
AuthorNation 465730.com. No. Yeah. But you make a good point. Why did I choose .community? Because it's a community, and I want people to see that this is a community. Come to the community. Right. For me, that was really, really important, which is why I've chosen .community.
Yeah, well, good point, I think it's a good point that, we can even let our listeners know that, if you are looking to name something, you're not just stuck with and don't have to stick with, .com. There are other things that are perhaps even better for your particular body, however it was. And just on a very funny side note that has very little to do with anything, but I was at a gathering, and we were sharing our connecting links and stuff, and one of the people who was a real character, one of these people who just has a really wry sense of humor. And the end of her thing was .WTF.
Is that a thing? I didn't know that was a thing.
Who knew, eh? And everybody knows what it is. You don't need to say anything more. And we just all howled, and it so fit her, there's just people who are like that, right? And so it was so much fun that we could just have an absolute barrel of laughs over something as silly as what's the end of where we get hold of you. But being online is definitely fun, and being in a community is definitely fun, and having access to different people, it's just really so creative. Thank goodness for Zoom. We've all become Zoomers now.
So true.
Anyway,
Thank you, Mary, for having me today. Really loved being here, and I loved having a conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate it too, because I think, by just having a conversation, we can make such a difference. I mean, we're not trying to be significant. We're just trying to have a conversation that can help inform and give people new ideas, new ways of thinking about things. And I'm so grateful to things like Zoom that enable all this to be happening.
So true. Thank you.